Naughty Dog and Sony have come out and said, we've found him. We've got the person or persons who leaked the stuff about The Last of Us Part 2 online. We're not going to say anything about who they were or anything like that, but they're not affiliated in any way, shape or form with Sony or Naughty Dog. Nothing to see here. You can go away now. No questions, please. Don't ask us any questions, please. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Never gonna guess what, folks? OMG, they found them. They found the people who put the leaks out onto the Tinterweb about The Last of Us Part 2. And joy of joys, they had nothing whatsoever to do with Naughty Dog or Sony Interactive Entertainment at all. They just managed to get hold of a dev kit. And anyway, so we've got this story. This was the initial story, 27th of April, a few days ago, from gamesindustry.biz. A major leak has spread spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2 far and wide twixt the internet. All right, William Shakespeare. And then, as we were doing Friday Night Tights last night, this news broke. Sony has confirmed to GamesIndustry.biz that it has identified the primary individuals responsible for the leaks earlier this week, saying they were not affiliated with Sony Interactive Entertainment or Naughty Dog, as was rumoured. The publisher declined to comment further, saying that the information was currently subject to an ongoing investigation. An investigation into how they got hold of a dev kit. Did it just materialize? Did they teleport it out? Because to get hold of one of these takes a substantial bit of work, you know? If they stole it, would have to have identified every single developer that was working on the game. If they're working from home, they'd have to identify where these people lived. If they're working from a satellite office, where that satellite office was. They'd also then have to try and gain access to them to get hold of the dev kit. So how does this have absolutely nothing to do with Sony Interactive Entertainment or Naughty Dog? It's as if it's bullshit! But what would I know? I mean, apart from the fact that this sounds like the biggest soy-ops that's ever happened. Because as soon as this information came out, Shill Media, this is courtesy of Memology 101, Shill Media, 25 tweets and articles saying, hey folks, they got him. And they had nothing to do with Sony or Naughty Dog at all. The Shill Media, by the way, that had kept absolutely silent while Sony Interactive was going around striking channels like my own with false DMCA takedowns, putting copyright strikes on us for fair use. Where were they then? Where were they then calling out this disgusting behavior? Nowhere in sight. Because Shill Media, as everybody knows, is bought and paid for. They are the industry's cuck-ass simps. They tell them how high to jump, they will do it. Whose boots to lick, they will do it. They don't have your interests at heart at all. If you think you do, you are fooling yourself. Bought and paid for. But it's all good. So I highly doubt that the individual responsible or responsibles, in case there's multiple people, there isn't a very specific link to Sony Interactive or Naughty Dog. Whether it's an employee that has left the company, whether it's an employee that was fired from the company. But there is definitely going to be a link somewhere. But the narrative is being constructed, people. Don't think, just accept and move on. Speaking of that, let's have a look at our favourite chap from Naughty Dog himself, Neil Druckmann. So, this guy who's remained very quiet indeed, by the way, very quiet indeed as this whole palaver is going on. Very quiet as Sony Interactive Entertainment are issuing false DMCA takedowns. Very quiet. Suddenly, perks up and responds to GameIndustry.biz, who Sony had confirmed to them, saying, well, how about that? Done. Done now. How about that? Let's move on, people. And then he follows it up a little bit later with, glad we got that cleared up. But there's a lot of other false rumours out there. Looking forward to discussing all of this once the game comes out. Oh, Neil, you have no idea how excited I am to discuss this. Although I'm not sure that you'd speak to somebody like me. But something tells me on the 19th of June, maybe the 20th of June, I think there's a lot of people that are going to want to talk to you. But you're all about the discussion, aren't you? You're here, looking forward to discussing it with you. Well, Neil is kind of all about the discussion unless you're actually in a focus group. And the whole point is to discuss and question certain elements of why things have been done. This is from an interview with Glixel. And this question here. You've said in the past that you've been influenced by a crazy scammer, her videos, and the larger conversation about diversity and representation in games. How did that affect Uncharted 4? Neil steps up to the plate. When I'm introducing and describing a new character to our lead character concept artist, constantly she will ask, what if it was a girl? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Let me think. Does it affect or change anything? No. Cool. That's different because women have only just recently been invented, even though they represent 50% of planet Earth. Yeah, let's do it. Initially, in the epilogue, it was Nate's son. Something similar happened with the mansion they go into. That was an old English guy's house. She asked, well, what if it was a woman? Oh my God, that's different. Cool. Yeah, let's do it. You have some sexist focus testers who are really upset by Nadine beating up Nate and really upset at the end when it was Nate's daughter. Let me jump in there. Well, you can understand, not upset. I like the way he phrases it. Something tells me this is things that happened the way that Neil Druckmann wanted them to go down. I imagine that somebody said, how does this woman keep beating up Nate? Nate, who, by biology, don't want to trigger anyone there, is much stronger than a female. Someone who is a hardened explorer. Somebody who is a hardened fighter gets constantly bested. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. And as regards to the Nate's daughter, you've just admitted to virtue signaling. Because you say here, initially in the epilogue, it was Nate's son. The plan was to have father and son together. But because your concept artist said, well, what if it was a woman? Then because women are different and they never appear in video games and they've just been invented and don't represent 50% of planet Earth, you virtue signaled and gender swapped. So I think this person in the focus group is well within their rights to question things like this. But maybe you remember things slightly differently to how they actually went down. To the point where we had to ask one guy to leave. In his core, it just affected him. This is when you know that he's bullshitting. In his core, you don't know how this person feels. You are projecting your own thoughts on the situation. This probably never went down anywhere close to how you're describing it, but it fits your narrative perfectly, which we'll get to end the video. He was cursing. Not you too, naughty dog. God damn it. I guess I'm done with Uncharted if you guys ever make another one with his daughter. This fucking bullshit. That sounds very feasible. And I, Neil Druckmann, who is looking forward to discussion, was like, wow, why does that matter? And we kicked him out. Oh, God. So I'm going to end the video with this little clip, folks, from Toronto 2013, where The Last of Us has come out, and now Neil is fully influenced by the cancerous crazy woman. He says this.
So while working on The Last of Us, I had this secret agenda that's becoming less and less secret the more I talk about this stuff. I wanted to create one of the coolest non-sexualized female video game protagonists. And I felt like with The Last of Us, if we did that, there's an opportunity here to change the industry. And I know that sounds pretentious.
It sounds pretentious, Neil, because it is pretentious. And I sincerely hope and I'm glad that you didn't sexualize Ellie in The Last of Us because she was 14 years old. Don't worry, folks. They got him. Or them. We don't know. I don't think they do either. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.